should be
Okay.
working.
So yeah, Spencer, thanks for coming one more time. I know you have a pretty busy schedule, but thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us. Yeah, so I just want to go over like some of your careers. You helped me so much when I was at Cloud, and it was incredible to see how the students liked you. You know, but it wasn't just
Thank you.
because your class was easy, but it was because it was fun and you were treating everyone as the same with the same respect. Everybody was feeling like they were special, you know, and that I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
and I don't mean to cut you off,
yeah,
but I really thank you for those words. They mean a great deal, and I view it as I have the easiest and best job in the world because um, I am brought to this place, but you guys come to this place, and I get to work with you and incorporate my ideas and blend my ideas with your guys' thoughts, and so. Um, you're welcome, first of all, but I feel like I'm the one that needs to be thanking you.
no, no, you are helping us a lot, and it's a lot of support that you are giving us your time. So we really appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. A little bit, do you want me to do my educational background or do you want me to wait on that?
I mean, go ahead, go ahead. It's your
Okay,
time.
so, and I don't know how descriptive you want me to be, buddy, but when I first went to school, I actually went to Bethany College, which is an NAIA school, and I was fortunate enough to receive a basketball scholarship there. And so I played basketball there for 4 years.
Cool.
And when I first went there, guys, my goal was to be a communications major, actually. I kind of liked the whole sound of that and being around people and kind of incorporating sports into it. And as you both know, you get to places and it just doesn't feel right and it just doesn't jive,
Yeah.
and so that kind of happened to me, and so I was a little lost and a little confused in what direction I wanted to go there for a little bit. But one thing that I've always felt in my heart and that I've always been passionate about, that it's always made me better, is to be around people.
Hmm.
And I got to talking about that with my advisor, and it was brought up. Well, you like sports and you like coaching. What about teaching?
Hmm.
And my mom has been a teacher for many years, and so it's kind of been around. I've been around that, and so the more I got into it, and so my advisor enrolled me in a few of those classes, and it just clicked. It just
Cool.
clicked, and so being around people and being around sports, it was a good match for me. And so I got my degree from Bethany, and I was certified as a physical education teacher.
Hmm.
And so then the next step, I was kind of still figuring out what I wanted to do. And so I went to grad school, and I went to grad school at Kansas State University. And there's a more fancy term for the master's degree that I got, but guys, essentially what it is, it's athletic administration. And so I got to be on K-State's campus, and I got to see the ins and outs of how those types of things work within an athletic office. And I really think a lot of my experience there has
Hmm.
kind of accelerated me into this part here at Cloud, being around all the different sports programs. And so that's a little bit of the educational background, but teaching is my passion. Teaching, I don't think I'll ever get tired of it, just because, and this is going to sound like a cliche, guys,
Uh-huh.
but I'm always learning. I'm always learning myself as the teacher. And, I feel like that is such a gift. Every semester here at the college level, I'm given these gifts, like these new batch of students that I get to work with and learn from. And you can't say that about every profession. So
Mhm.
that's a little bit about, my educational background,
Uh-huh.
my undergrad, and then I was fortunate enough to get my master's degree.
Cool.
I'll try and keep my answers shorter than that. Sorry, that was a little
No,
It's
you're
fine. It's
long-winded.
good.
totally fine. It's supposed to be a conversation, and it's nice that you said, because I was thinking about that. How, like, for my career, how can I influence people? And now that you said, I think like being a teacher, a professor is like a way to every week, every year, you can influence more and more people, like change their lives
That's
in a
right.
positive way. So yeah, it's something that just one insight that came to me when you said about like working with people and like being a teacher. Yeah, you are able
Yeah.
to influence a lot of people. Yeah.
And to your point, Gustavo, I think we are given a platform. You know, when you're a coach and when you're a teacher, I look at it as you're going to make an impact or an influence either way. Now, that doesn't mean it's always going to be a positive one,
Yeah.
you know, but regardless, our profession, you're going to make an impact. And so the platform we have, you're right. You know, it's like we're going to be a difference maker either way. It's either going to be a good one or a not so good one.
Yeah, and especially I was talking to Igor about you, and he said that especially with the internationals, that their English weren't very good. You were very helpful with them, and like I had this experience coming here with an English that's not very good, and I know how this can make a big difference, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that for sure influenced the internationals in a positive way in your school, and that's really nice.
Thank you. And if I could just say one thing about that, it's I think too often we get caught up in the wrong things. You know, for me, it's always about attitude and effort. So as long as my international students are giving me those two things, why would I, you know, downgrade them or not give them that extra attention? As long as they're giving me their attitude and their effort, it's okay. Their English will come.
Hmm.
And another way to look at it, if I'm not pleasant and if I'm not kind and helpful to them, I may never get them to that spot to learn the English because they'll be so defeated and dejected. And so having that attitude at the beginning, I think makes a big difference.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So our audience here is like most of them they are athletes, and I know you work with athletes like all the time, especially at Cloud that we have so many. So like, how do you think those athletes they can have an impact in other people's life? Because I think nowadays sports they are so big, you know, that sometimes they don't even want to have that impact, but they have, and like you mentioned, that can be good or that can be bad. So how to create a good impact in people's lives, like through sport, you know, not even only sports, but like using sport as a door to
Channel.
yeah a channel to achieve those things.
That's a great question. And I think the first part of it, though, needs to be really dissected because you said some people don't want to be. Like some people may not want that.
Right.
To make a full impact, Igor and Gustavo, I think you kind of have to want to. Like you have to want to be in that position because, as you both know, being a difference maker, the difference makers, I really think of leaders. And so leaders want to be at that forefront. Leaders are going to be willing to, my fault,
Mhm.
even when it's not, right, Igor?
Yeah, I know.
Even when it's not, the leader's saying it's still my fault. So to better answer that question, though, I think it's when I think of when you ask me that, it's you got to walk the walk. All three of us can sit here and talk till we're blue in the face about all these good things that we think leaders do. And we could probably have a great conversation. But then when the camera goes off and us three go out, and if we contradict everything that we just said within this conversation,
Mhm.
you know, what does that mean? You know, I think it's phony. So if your athletes or your audience want to really be difference makers, one, they've got to really put themselves in that mind frame that I am going to be a difference maker. I want to be, okay, even when it's not pleasant, I still want to be. And then the other part is, you know, I got to walk the walk. I'm going to talk about all these things, but I have to put it into action. And I think too often, and I'm guilty of it too, I say all these beautiful things and all these really cool things, but am I going out? Am I really showing it? Showing it's one thing, saying it's another.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I remember in your class that we were talking about types of leadership, and you mentioned like lead by example. That's one of the best ways because, well, your words doesn't mean a lot if your actions don't match, you
That's
know.
right.
But like, do you think people can achieve good results, like not having that mindset? Like, do you think they can, oh, let me just go there and play and, you know, not care about my actions outside the field? Do you think they can achieve um, good results for a long for a long time? Like, what do you think? What is your thoughts about that?
So you're asking, do I think they can achieve good things if even if they don't want to be a leader? I want to make sure I follow the
Yes,
question.
yes. So like if they don't have that mindset and in the right frame to think, okay, I need to do this, you know. It's not only about me, it's about other people as well. Do you think they can get somewhere without doing that?
I do, buddy. And if I don't answer this the right way, you definitely tell me. But
Oh no, no.
I think there are some people that can be very successful, but maybe not at the front. You know, there are people, and I've been one of these people before where I wasn't maybe the leader of the team, but I still brought value. I still had an important role. And so I think environment becomes important. Environment is important, and then those around us. If you two are together all the time and you go to a certain place or a certain setting, let's say setting number one, Igor is more comfortable in the lead. And
Mhm.
Gustavo maybe knows that, and he kind of defers or lets Igor take that leader type role. But then a week from now, you go to a different atmosphere, a different environment, and Gustavo is much more comfortable in that role, the leader role.
Yeah.
And Igor knows that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, I think people don't have to be the leader to be successful. In fact, we've almost, as society, we've almost deemed it a failure if you're not the main guy or the main gal. And I think we have that a little bit backwards.
Yeah.
So it's okay sometimes to have the mentality that, well, I'm not the leader, but I can still be an important figure on the team. I hope I answered that right.
Just just to add a little bit to that you said, like let's say that you have a student, like he has good grades, but he doesn't participate in class. He's not helpful with the others, but he's still very smart. But like his example to the others is not good, you know. So it's the same in a team. Like you have the best player, but like he goes to the party in the weekend, he drinks before a game, but he's still so gifted that he's successful. But like his example, his values, he's like exception. He has this talent, but he's not conveying like the right values, you know. So
I
that's
see.
so I don't know how would you what do you think about that? Like in a classroom, like this person that does not is not a perfect example, but is still successful because he's gifted.
I think that becomes difficult because you're right. It's almost there are some that are so naturally gifted
Yeah.
and naturally talented that they don't have to focus on those little things. I guess when you talked there, I think for the athlete to reach his or her full potential, they have to be aware that their credibility is being knocked. And at some point, their major talent is going to either be matched by someone or, Gustavo, what if somebody gets hurt? What if somebody gets injured and all of a sudden their ultra talents aren't enough?
Yeah.
So for any athlete, and hopefully you guys are, I think the message by the way, what you're doing is amazing, but
Thank
the
you.
message needs to be sent that for us, all of us, to be whole
Mhm.
and to be the best we can be, we can't rely on only those talents that we have. And to your example, I think any athlete that's right now relying solely on their God-gifted talents is running a bit of a risk. because the other things that they're maybe neglecting that you spoke of or not doing, or they're going out on the weekend or doing these things, eventually, guys, that stuff catches up to your talent. And so that's a tough one. I think it becomes tougher because credibility is lost. You know, if their teammates or their loved ones or their friends are seeing that they're not doing certain things, that they're just relying on that talent, I think it loses the effect of a leader. They're not revered enough. They're not looked up as much when they don't focus on those things.
Yeah, for sure. Spencer, I was just thinking, I was looking to your like Facebook page and stuff, and you talk a lot about like gratitude, you know, kindness. Um, so bringing that to the sports a little bit, how important do you think is for athletes to go like beyond those barriers, you know, of just playing, like it's not just playing, you know, there's especially for playing for team sports, like maybe you are not the leader that you help managing the team, but like your example tells a lot, you know, the way that you treat others tells a lot, you know. So how important you think gratitude, kindness is for an athlete?
Well, I think, buddy, it's important. And before I go further with my response, we have to remember that even if you're an athlete, you're a person first, always.
Of course.
I don't care, you know, LeBron James is probably the most athletic person in the world, but I think it's important that any athlete focuses on their people skills before their athletic skills. And so why do I think bringing gratitude and all those things is important? Because if you want to be the best possible person you can be, you're going to do those things and you're going to pride yourself on doing those things. The other reason, buddy, I'll just be brutally honest with you. It's, and I don't want it to come off as selfish, but selfishly speaking, it's also how I get better. It's also how we all get better. If I incorporate myself in those settings, I'm becoming better just by being around that. And again, I go back to that word environment. But think about it, guys. Anybody that you want to be around that's pleasant is going to be humble, is going to be accepting of all types of people. And so I think it's important that the athlete remembers that someday the ball is going to stop bouncing. And so networking becomes important too. If you're going out and doing all these things, maybe within your community that have nothing to do with sports, but you may meet someone at that volunteer place that you chose to go to that may help you 3 years down the road, help you get a job, help you get an internship. Maybe their daughter or their son is the head of a company and you're a business major, and you go and you help them, and you're such a nice young man or such a nice young woman that you make such an impression that he or she wants to help you. So it's a life deal. It really isn't a sport deal. It's just becoming a better human being. And I'm big. That's how I was raised. I give credit to my parents, you know, just always give back. If you can give back, always give back to others. And I'm such a believer, if you help as many people as you can, because we're all going to need help at some point.
And even I had one experience, one of my coaches in Brazil, and he told me that, like, even though in the sports life, like if you are a professional or student athlete, like sometimes you are the coach, you have a good opportunity, and the coach from a good team, he's between in you and another guy, and you guys are the same level, both pretty good. And for sure, like how you behave as a teammate, how you behave as a person is gonna count for you, and it's gonna be like a differential, like the way you behave. So it's exactly the way you were going, like. And even though you said after playing, like you're gonna have a network, and people are gonna remember you somehow in some way. It's gonna be good or not. So you're gonna have more opportunities if you are gratitude, if you have integrity. So yeah, it's the same line that we were going.
Yeah.
You put it much better than I did, Gustavo. That was awesome. No, and you're right. At certain levels, it's pretty even.
Mhm.
And many times the coach or the leader, even in the workplace, I think Igor's heard me say this too, but nobody wants to be around a jerk, And so if you have two people that are very even in terms of talent, but this one seems an awfully lot more pleasant,
Mhm.
more times than not, they're going to go with that pleasant person and
Yeah.
that kind person.
Yeah, for sure. And like you guys are saying, we get in a point that our skills, there we can achieve like a good skills. Like I can play like as the best goalkeeper in the world if I put in the work and stuff like that. But like we're gonna get in a point that is my mindset. That things outside the sports that
Yes.
will make me be great, right? So
Yes.
I think that's huge. And how you as a professor, how can you help your students seeing that point of view? Because I know like even in a community college, you have like basketball players, like players that they are so good, like they have the attention of everybody at the school. How do you teach them like hey, this is like it's not only about this, it's not only about your sport, there is way more. How can you help them see those things?
Uh, Igor, again, I want to make sure I answer. So are you asking me how I go about connecting with them to where
Yeah.
they're more receptive to listen to me?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a great question, and you're right, it's ultra important. Okay, so the way I go about that, it's investing and showing an interest in their life. Okay, so let's say they are a basketball player, and I think a leader always has to be aware. I need to be aware that they have a game coming up.
Mhm.
After class, going up and saying, hey, good luck tonight. I'm going to try and be there. I'm going to try and watch you, good luck. Or the day after the game, you looked great last night. That was probably your best game of the year. Good game, good luck. Because see, if there's this wall up, and if I'm a robot in class and all I care about is them, the student, and what they do for me in the class, but I never ask them about their sport or their family, I don't think I'm going to get their best effort. I don't think I'm going to get their best product. But any person, it's not just students, any human being, they want to feel validated. They want to feel important. And so if I show an interest in all of my students, whether they're a basketball player on the track team, horse judging team, whatever their interest is, but if I show an interest in them, guys, I promise, I see the pretend light bulb every time. It's wow, that guy cares about me. You know what? And many times that light bulb then where they would maybe skip a class. Well, wait, he cares about me.
Mhm.
He seems to like me. So I'm going to go to that class today. And I'll just tell you to this, I've won, so to speak. I've gotten past that hump to where maybe they weren't going to come to class, all because I took an interest in what their interest and their hobbies are. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear. I don't do that in a fake sense. I genuinely am interested in it. And I think that's where a leader has to be authentic about it.
Right. I know that. I know.
Oh, you're too kind. But to really connect, I think you have, I tell my intro to ed kids this all the time, but don't get caught up in the content. Don't get caught up in all the X's and O's and all the rules and stuff. Take a genuine interest in their lives and they'll work with you and they'll work for you.
Mhm.
So I might have a good question for you.
Yes.
Like let's use the example of a basketball player. So you have a basketball player and you watch the game and you know that this guy is the best player of the team, but like you notice that he's selfish, he doesn't help the others, he just thinks about himself, and he respects you as a professor, he likes you as a person. What would you say to him to try to make his mindset better, to make him like a better person?
That's a great question. And I've had the luxury. I tell people all this time, you know, I'm not these guys' coach, so they don't ever fully get mad at me. Like I'm
What
usually
about
the one.
person then?
Yeah, I'm usually the one that gets to uplift them, you know, and I don't have to yell at them at practice. But I think, you know, that's a great question, Gustavo, and it happens probably more times than we think. But if I were to see that a player is being selfish, and let me first say, you want to be really careful not to overstep any boundary. So if I'm not their actual coach, I have to kind of, you know, be a little easy with how aggressive you go about it, because I'm not there in practice every day, and I'm not inside the clubhouse, so to speak. But from a spectator, I would just, and again, I can't have this conversation if I don't do the groundwork at the beginning and gaining that trust. Because if I don't do that, I don't think I'm privy to even having that combo. But let's say I've built the
Yeah,
trust.
let's suppose that you have.
Yeah, let's say I've built the trust. I would just recommend, you know, I'm seeing some things out there where I thought you could have done this. Or let's say, and sorry guys, I got to use basketball just because that's what I know more. But let's say one of our point guards is maybe being selfish here at Cloud. I could maybe use the example, you know, a point guard in the NBA. Let's see who I could use. Curry shoots a lot, but Steve Nash used to play. Okay, guys, Steve Nash was an all-time great point guard. And I could maybe drop the net. You know, have you ever watched Steve Nash play? He was constantly looking for his teammates. And you have such a great ability with your dribbling. I think you could be that too. So you turn a negative and you spin it into a positive if you can. You know, just maybe making the player be aware that, you know, you're doing these things and highlighting their ability to, I guess, correct that mistake, Gustavo. But that's tough because, again, if I'm not the actual coach, it'll be very interesting to see if they even take what I say serious. But I think tone, okay, Igor's heard me talk about tone of voice a lot in my classes. If I go at that player with a nasty tone and I speak, what are you doing out there? Do you notice how ugly that sounded? But the tone of my voice dictates whether or not the kid is going to listen to me. And too often, and I'm guilty of this as a father, too often my tone and my voice is poor. And so the message is not even heard, all because of the tone in my voice. Rather than if I come at it like I'm talking to you two, very politely, very nice, it's a more receptive message. And so that's what I would highlight in my answer is the tone of our voice matters. Sometimes just as much as what we're actually saying.
Yeah, no, and for sure, I remember us in class and like you mentioned before, like making us, you know, just see the other point of view, you know, that you're trying to tell us. You weren't saying, "Hey Igor, you should do this." No, "Hey Igor, what do you think about that?"
Yeah.
You know, that changes everything, and I think communication is the key for so many things, you know, relationships, like any type of relationships, you know, successful teams, you know, like work at any areas in our life.
Yeah.
If we don't have a good communication, we probably is gonna struggle sometime, you know, and we will have many issues that we need to.
No question. And sorry to chime in here again on this one, but what Igor said is so right. And we call it the cooperative leadership style, Gustavo, where it's not just me dictating and saying all these things. It's a joint effort. It's both of us providing input and sharing. And so when we have young people, any people feel like they have ownership of something, they become more invested. And so the other side of the cooperative is the command, and the command leadership is just, I get to dictate everything. You don't have a say in anything. And sometimes that's where I think trust is lost. And so to Igor's point, the way that I would approach him, and I think most leaders try to, is let's together talk about this and come up with a plan.
So, so I'm curious about that. If you have to define yourself with one leadership style, which one would be?
My personal opinion, and I'm gonna don't think I'm skirting around here, but my preference, if I had to answer, would be cooperative. And for a lot of the reasons Igor just said, just because I feel like it's a better feel, the environment. Sorry, I use that word again, but I intentional environment is so important.
Yeah.
But when everybody feels like they have a say in it, they're going to be more involved and more invested. However, let me follow it with this. I think timing is important. When I first meet my classes, I am probably more of a command style leader at the beginning, because I think it's important that you kind of set the tone and dictate, here's what's going to hopefully happen. Here's what I really don't want to happen. And so the command style almost needs to be present at the beginning. And I'm a believer in this for coaches too. When you first meet your teams, guys, I think a stern message on what's going to be allowed and what's not, I think that's appropriate. Then as you get into your season, you kind of loosen up a little bit. That doesn't mean you let things go, but it means more input. I want more input from my athletes and my students, because they're going to tell me things that they're feeling and that they're seeing that I, as the instructor or the coach, cannot see. So I think timing is a big deal. Command, and then eventually, probably fourth of the way into it, I think we want to be cooperative.
I was just gonna ask you that, because I feel like so many coaches, they are too cooperative, so they let so many things go, you know. I think the timing that you mentioned, it's so important, because so you have the respect from the student, from the athletes, and they respect you, but they know that you are not their boss, you know. You are there to help them improve and succeed.
He's
right?
the first person that answered this question like this, and I really like it. Yeah, I think
thank you.
it's perfectly. Yeah,
and I know I'm probably talking too much, guys, but I think there's another important factor when we're considering what style to use, and I think it comes down to clientele, meaning if I have a whole bunch of returners back on my team, I don't have to be as command style.
Yeah,
because they've been through the program and they know how things are going to operate. But if I have a whole bunch of new players or students, I think command needs to be more present. So it kind of depends on who's involved with you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I don't want to take our time too much, but I have one last question.
Okay.
So how would you define success? How would you measure success?
You saved the zinger for last, huh?
Of course, yeah. Take your time.
Well, success. Okay.
that could be for you, like specifically for you personally, like nothing else.
We truly believe that everyone has their own way to measure success, you know, and so we want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, I'm gonna answer this, and I'm sure it could be picked apart, my answer, and that's okay. I'm sure it could easily be critiqued. But success, because God did not make us equally. We all have our own strengths and we all have our own weaknesses. So when I view someone's success, there's 3 words. Do your best. Now, I want to break down that though. Did you really do your best? Did you really train as hard as you physically can possibly? Did you prepare, for a test? Did you really study leading up to it? And so I think And Coach John Wooden you guys should check his website out. He's got all kinds of good stuff on the Wooden website, but he defined, and he passed away, but he defined success as one's peace of mind. You know, are you at ease? Are you comfortable with your efforts and your actions? But how do I personally define success? It's just, did you do your best?
Yeah.
Did you absolutely put everything you have out on the line? If you didn't, I don't think that's been an overall success. And walk with me here. You could maybe win a game, or let's say I'm a tennis player and I won a match, but I kind of half did it. I didn't give my maximum effort, but I won the match. Shouldn't you deem that as a success? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's literally, if you, and here's the beauty in my answer. There's one person in this entire world that knows if you gave your best. And who is that person?
Yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah.
No one else truly can know if you've given everything in your being that day at practice. No one knows but you. And so and we talk about leadership, all these questions. If you're a true leader, and if you're really true to yourself and your word, I think you'll become wired to give your best as much as you possibly can. So I told you I'd kind of skirt around that, and I think I did a little bit, but to define success is if you're giving your best each and every day. And that's damn hard, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we all fail in that regard, probably, because it's just hard to be consistently great.
Yeah, I mean, give me goosebumps, because like I truly believe on that, and I think it's like it's a good way to measure success, because you can control that. And I'll never forget what you told me once: it's control what you can, you know.
That's
And
right.
I don't know if I'm gonna win, if I'm gonna play, but I know that I can give my best. So I have control of that. So I can just make sure that I'll go out there and I'll do my best.
Yep.
And well, I mean, thanks so much for saying that, because it's like makes me and so many other people to want to keep going, you know, say, okay, I'm in the right way then, because I'm giving my best. Even if I don't see the results,
That's right.
I'm still giving my best, and
The
that
results
means
are
that,
gonna come.
yeah, that means
That's right.
I'm successful. I'm not a failure, you know, because I'm giving my best. So
Mhm.
thanks so much for saying that, Spencer.
Oh, you're welcome. And guys, I'm honored to be on with you. And I hope you know how cool this is, what you guys are doing, you know. And Gustavo, I don't know you personally, but anybody who's friends with Igor, I know is a dynamite human being. And so
I agree.
you guys keep doing this. You're gonna make a big impact. And
So much. Yeah, we hope so. I feel like of course it helped us a lot, learning so much. Like you said, like we are always learning.
yep,
I feel like people out there need more of this kind of stuff, you know. Like it's not only about skills, you know, it's
no,
more about your mindset, about who you truly are. It's not only about just going there and scoring
that's
a
right.
goal, or you know, making a touchdown or something like that.
And then everything goes back to the beginning of our conversation. If you are like this, you are able to influence people, and that's for me is what life is all about. Like influence people to be better, like help them somehow, and then
That's right.
yeah, that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
You guys are big time. And if I could do anything else, Igor, you know how to get a hold of me, okay?
So I appreciate you taking our time. Thanks so much, Spencer. And we probably need to do a second part of this one.
Okay,
Yeah, I hope we can do one person.
Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
You guys let me know, and I'll be in touch, but thank you so much, and
Yes,
keep
yes.
doing what you're doing, okay?
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Take care, guys.
You too.